Brian and Sherry lead our CR on Tuesday nights. I asked him to share just a bit. He's going to share this morning. And wow, it's been amazing what God's been doing. Last Sunday, Pastor Mesh preached an amazing message. How many was here last Sunday? Amen. That was an amazing. I texted him. I said, Pastor, you doing some preaching to me. That was good. So thankful what the Lord is doing. Brian and Sherry, they lead Celebrate Recovery on Tuesday night at 6:30.
My password.
You got your I changed your password while you're there.
Somebody did. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Pastor Lane. As I said, my name is Brian. Me and my wife and a bunch of other individuals, we lead Celebrate Recovery. Those who know me, bless your heart for letting me stick around, because I know sometimes I'm a little difficult. Those who don't know me, I'm your friend. That catchphrase actually has a story behind it. When I first came to church for the first time, first pastor I met didn't introduce me himself as a pastor. He just said, I'm your friend. And that's what I needed at that point. So Pastor Lane asked me to talk about a little bit, about CR. And I was leaving one night here from a Bible study. Me and my wife, the minute I'm in the car, my earbuds are in, and I call her. That's just how we've always been. We will talk for the hour I drive back and forth to work and then get home and talk some more. We've always been like that. I don't know how many of y'all leave and go up Verrot this way, where it merges right past Vanson Road or Vincent Road. It depends upon which side of I-10 you're on. But it gets together. And whenever I was going down there, an SUV was on the side of me, and I got to the red light at Vanson. It was yellow-ish, But I stomped it, he stomped it, and we both went through the light. I guess we both figured cops only going to get one of us, But next thing I know, my little red light running buddy is right on the side of me, and he's ready to hit me because this lane is fixing to merge up here. And I was in my lane. I was in the left-hand lane. I'm good. I'm going straight. But he started to run out of lane. That's when he got mad. And he blew the horn. He got behind me. He showed me a finger. I was taught at a young age that wasn't nice. When I went to catechism, I did the finger in front of someone there, and they pulled me to the side, and they said, don't do that, give them the turkey. And I'm like, what do you mean? They did that. So that's what I did. That's, that's how I am. I gave him the turkey in the rearview mirror. And, my wife is just quiet because she's on the phone listening to me. And then the guy jumped behind me, gets to the first road and takes a right. I'm like, dude, really? You almost caused an accident just so you could take a right-hand turn. And there was no cars behind me, and I just wasn't ready to stop. And my wife told me, because my wife screamed, because I screamed real loud. I said, dude, will you learn to merge already? See, that is why I stay involved in Celebrate Recovery, because just because I may be sober, I'm still Uncle B sometimes, And some of y'all that follow me on social media might have run across some of my old posts, and as a long-haired guy that loved his middle finger, and he had a certain word that he used all the time. But one October night, I walked up 18 steps into a Celebrate Recovery, and I came down a totally different creature. I found Jesus up there. And everything in my life was going well. I wasn't looking for change. It was like, man, I'm good. I had my own company. I worked when I wanted to work. I did pretty much what I wanted to do. But as a lot of us that go to CR, we don't go there for ourselves because we're good. I went there to support somebody and found out, no, I needed the one. So just a little bit of background on Celebrate Recovery. Celebrate Recovery was founded in 1991. The Ministry of Saddleback Church is a big Baptist church in California. John and Cheryl Baker actually went to their pastor, Rick Warren, and John has passed on, and his son has taken over. And he says, look, I want to make something that's a Christ-centered ministry for people who are fighting addictions or just plain hurts, habits, and hang-ups. He said, we have other programs. It's very similar to AA and NA, except he says, we got to put Jesus front and center in this. So Pastor Warren told him, he says, okay, write it. Write it and we'll use it. And the first night that they done it, they had 43 people show up. And Celebrate Recovery was born. Now it's in thousands of churches across the country. It's a ministry that is around the world. I actually Googled and saw it in China in a place where they were doing a Celebrate Recovery, and that is amazing. And the numbers just continue to grow. They use it in recovery houses and sober living homes. They actually have people that go out and do mission work for Celebrate Recovery, where they go all the way around the world. And if the Lord is willing this year, I plan on bringing it to our Acadiana Open Access channel. Right now, I'm lucky enough to do a show with a couple of other guys, and I've had a lot of sober living homes reach out, and I said, look, I'm going to put it in action. We're going to get it on TV, and that way for those that can't come, until we get that van, because I know we're going to get a van, but that way, you know, it can get out. But the need for Celebrate Recovery, it's unmistakable. We need a safe place for people, and that's what Celebrate Recovery is. It's a safe place. But now, let me get back to that guy that couldn't merge and how CR helped me, because I was ready to go Mad Max on him. You know, whenever most of us, whenever we took our driver's test, they gave us a book, and they said, go study the book. Now the kids are lucky. You study the test. But we had to read the whole book. So I'm like, I'm going to go back to that book, and I'm going to see how you merge. And the first thing it tells you on how to merge is you have to signal your intentions. So it's God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's all I wanted right there. I wanted a little bit of serenity. I had to accept that this dude does not know how to drive. I'm perfect. I'm a good driver. I got a lot of miles, you know, it's never me. But I couldn't change his erratic behavior right there. So I started to take a look at the lessons that we teach in CR. And right now, at the beginning of CR, we teach stuff like denial and powerless and hope, turn and action. But see, right there, I knew I wasn't in denial because this cat was getting close to me. But I was powerless at that moment because I could only control me. The not knowing of what he was going to do next was stressing me out. But I had the hope that the old Uncle B wouldn't come out in me, because even though I love Jesus, I haven't been saved too long, you know, but I had to turn over the anger to God, even though all I wanted to do was to get up underneath him, get him loose, and put him up against the wall, as NASCAR fans say. I'm not a NASCAR fan. I Googled that. I thought it was pretty cool. But the first step in all that was the hardest to take, because being able to slow down for a second and see what's going on without reacting, that's not me. You know, Sherry knows the old me, and the old me would have acted a lot differently. But the second step to merging is to accelerate and match the speed, living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace. You see, the next set of lessons here, we start to talk about our spiritual inventory. We talk about sponsor. We talk about moral. We talk about our personal inventory. And even though I was experiencing some things that was going through my head at this point, I still had to remember who I was in Christ. That's hard for Brian to do. But I did give him the turkey, and I was thinking of returning the favor with the same finger. So I guess I still was, you know, I still had a little bit in me. But I was lucky because my sponsor, which is it's a recovery term, basically someone you do life with, I had on the phone with me. That's my wife. She keeps me straight. And she kept just telling me over and over, baby, you're not that kind of person. And I'm like, I'm John Cena. You can't see me what I'm doing right now. You know, I'm from the south side of heaven, so you need to follow, lead, or get the heck out of my way. And she was like, well, what if he was in a hurry or it was an emergency? Sherry's that little voice, you know, that little angel. Sherry's always been my little angel sitting on my shoulders. And I'm like, so he's going to cause a wreck? How's that going to get him where he's going any faster? You know? And she's, you know, Brian, slow down. I'm like, nobody got time for that right now. So I started to check my surroundings, which is the next thing we do. We taking as Jesus did, this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it. See, right here, we start to begin to confess, to admit, become ready. We start to see our victories. We look at making amends. We look at becoming willing to offer forgiveness, because forgiveness just don't happen. You have to have that change in posture in your heart to want to forgive somebody. It takes a while. And we have to start to extend grace. And I had to confess right here that my willingness not to slow down wasn't because I was want to. It was because I got caught doing it. Sherry was on the phone listening to the whole thing as it was going on. You know, we're both running out of road right here, and I admitted I was getting a little bit uneasy right now, because the shoulder comes up and then goes shoulder ditch. You know, the only victory I wanted right now was to not have my car have 3 colors, because my car is two-tone. My son wrecked it, and well, my daughter-in-law wrecked it, and when they were sophomores. And, you know, again, my son came up to me and he said, I just want to do what's right. I want to tell you I'm sorry. So he showed me how to make the amend. I offered my daughter-in-law grace. I offered her the forgiveness. And first thing I'm thinking of is, man, them parts were hard to find. That's a '06 Mitsubishi. That thing is old, but it's a work car. And I'm like, the parts I'm going to need are going to be the ones displayed all over Verrod School Road right here. Because this dude was riding on my bumper, and I'm trying to keep it, but we have a saying in CR, I'm working on it. So that's what I was doing. So the next thing we have to do, we have to find a safe gap, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will. See, right here we arrive at a crossroad. We learn to take our daily inventory. We see what happens during a relapse. We show gratitude for the point we're at, and we give what we can. And we say yes to the outcome while hoping we don't get stuck in our journey. The crossroads I was at right here was a center line and oncoming traffic, and the persistence of this dude to push me into it. You know, I needed to handle this right, because I do a daily inventory every day, and I have enough stuff to apologize for. I don't need to be adding to my list, because I am Brian. If some of y'all know how my brain works, yeah, I get in trouble a lot. But I looked over and I made eye contact with this guy, and I seen he was a big guy. I'm like, man, he's big. He was red-faced. He was screaming. I could understand what he was saying, but I didn't want to relapse at this point and start repeating what he was saying back to him. And then I started to feel that gratitude, that I was no longer that person. You know, I was able to give something back to God, which was me not falling for that bait like I so easily fell for all the time. And I was saying yes to a new life. I was staying the same speed, and I was moving forward. So the last thing we do is we merge smoothly, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. See, our lessons right here end. And we have to start to apply what we gained into our lives. I want to be supreme. I want to be with Jesus. It's just at that moment, I didn't want to be with him right there. It was like, no, I still got some things I need to do. So I didn't want to get up to heaven and people talking, and it's like, oh man, I was a martyr. Oh, I was one of Jesus' followers. What happened to you? Oh, I had road rage. I didn't want to move over for this dude, you know. And about this time, the guy hit the brakes and he swerved behind me. He didn't just show me, he threw the whole parrot in the cage at me at this point. I'm looking in my rearview mirror. And then he took that first ride at the donut place. And this is where God stepped in and Celebrate Recovery helped me. Because BC, before Christ, Brian would have turned through that donut place and would have followed him to his house. I've done it. I've actually followed a guy to work one day, screaming at him for cutting me off on Johnson Street, for him just to look at me nicely and say, dude, go ahead and yell at me. I know I was wrong. Well, you just took all the fun out of it, dude. But come to find out later on, that guy was a church-going person. He was a Christian. So far through this, I said the entire Serenity Prayer, and I walked you through a list of all the lessons that we do and how we can apply it to our daily lives. So we have to remind ourselves, especially if you're coming out of an addiction or you're fighting a depression, we have to remind ourselves, hey, we made a choice. And we do coins. We hand them out. And the chips give us a remembrance of where we were and where we are now. Right now, I have 2 of them. I'm working on my busyness because my problem is if I have 5 minutes, I have to fill it. I got to a point to where my calendar wasn't just daily. I was starting to fill up my calendar hourly that's a problem. That's not how God can't use me if I'm busy within myself. I have to be available for him. So a lot of y'all are like, I don't know why you're telling me. I don't need none of this stuff. But that's the exact reason I tell a lot of people, because one thing CR does give is community. We may talk about addiction. We may talk about life issues. We talk about some struggles. Me growing up as a child, a lot of us, I'm Gen X. I was feral. A lot of the whippings I got, I deserved. But, a lot of that struggling as a child or grieving a death of a loved one, divorce, anxiety, depression, anger, and pride, that's what we mainly deal with. And whenever I tell people all that, and they're like, I don't need that. So, okay. Well, if you are good, and I'm not judging you, why don't you come and teach us how to do what you do? How you give it to God so easy like that? Because I didn't give it to God that easy. I had to go through my mind, and I had to have my wife in my ear saying, Brian, don't, because she knew I was right there. So I invite people over all the time to do that. Now, Celebrate Recovery is a ministry, and that was designed to help people do life together. We have a sign inside our fellowship hall that says life happens here. And it's there for a good reason, because we're not made to be alone. And some people have trust issues. I get it. But everybody that comes to Celebrate Recovery, we all share certain things. And we don't look at Celebrate Recovery as a ministry or a Bible study. We basically turned it into a life group of people who just want to work on themselves, to be best that they can be, or to have a way to be better. And we also have small group. Men on one side, women on the other. We leave the room. I didn't do small group for the first several months when I went to CR. I didn't need that. It's a support group. Who needs that? I don't need that. I'm a man. If I fall and scrape my knee, I rub some dirt on it and I'll go do the same thing again. But I was sober, but I was missing something. And once I started going to the small groups, I found out that I still had some stuff in my closet. And we all have something. Some have more baggage and some have more space. That's what I tell people that come to CR. I said, some people have a lot to deal with, and some people have an empty closet. But people at CR help you get that stuff into their closet to where, it makes room. But small group is where the magic began for me. Because I started to hear people that would talk about the lesson. They would talk about their testimonies. And it wasn't just drug addiction. It was people coming to God, finding God in Walmart, finding, Jesus on the street corner somewhere. And I was still a new Christian. I hadn't bought into this whole Jesus stuff yet. I was still on the fence. So people like that were perfectly fine, that didn't need CR, were the actual ones that helped me. And just, it showed me how others had been hurt like I was, and lied to like I was, and cheated on like I was, and left behind like I was. And, just sometimes you need that person. But Celebrate Recovery is a great place to walk in your giftings. I mean, if you like to teach, we got lessons. They're written out. You add to it, you take away. Maybe you're a prayer warrior. We need those. Every once in a while, we'll have someone just walk in off the street, see that the lights are on, the cars are in the parking lot. I have nowhere to go. What? And we sit there and we pray with them. We help them find stuff. We give them guidance. We need people like that. Now, I didn't get up here, to talk about Celebrate Recovery just to build a ministry. I just got up here to tell y'all what Christian life has allowed us to have here on Tuesday nights. Your tithing and your generosity allows this church to open up the doors. Celebrate Recovery pretty much runs on its own, but still, by your generosity, the lights are on for us, the air conditioning's on for us, and people have just supported us with so much. I want to close with this. Many years ago, my wife noticed with me I wasn't that same person. And she came to me with CR one night. She never drank, never had a drug issue. As people say, I ain't one of those people. That's what I was saying. But after going a while, she noticed that there had been some stuff been hiding around for years on her. You know, we did a step study together. We started by helping out by door greeting. We started making coffee, food. Bruh, this girl can bake. I'm so blessed with that. But, you know, eventually we started to give lessons. We gave our testimony. And some of you have been around my wife, and y'all see how me and her interact with each other. We're always ribbing each other. She puts up with my shenanigans. She puts up with stuff y'all don't even know about. But Celebrate Recovery is what brought that closeness in our marriage together. We've been able to talk about anything and everything. My past, all the things I did to her, she can bring it up to me. How I made her feel, what I did, why I did what I did, all the lies I told her, the cheating, the stealing. It seems like them conversations are mostly about me, so I'm starting to think I might be the problem here, but CR has cleared the air for us, and it's allowed her to understand why I drank, why I got into the drugs. She knows my triggers now, to where I'm not going to go back to that old Kid Rock dude, that I'm going to continue to walk where I am right now. But Celebrate Recovery is more than a recovery program. It's an opportunity to become the person that you've always wanted and you never knew you could be. It's connected so many people that have similar experiences, hobbies, just your general likes. And yes, there's normally food, but you know, we don't have it all. Sometimes it's just chips and a Coke, but most of the time we do have food there. I mean, I gotta be able to rest my arm and hold the mic every once in a while. I don't want to lose too much. But I just want to invite y'all to come and see what God is doing here on Tuesday nights. We even have something for the youth. Jay and Tiffany hold that up. So, you know, if you have a troubled child, bring them. You'd be amazed what people will tell strangers that won't tell people that they love. So we're working on childcare. I'm praying for next year to us have childcare again. But I can promise you, you're going to get something out of the lessons because it's all straight from Scripture. It's all biblical. We tie the steps of AA and the principles of CR all together in the Bible to where we can back everything up in His words. So I want to thank Pastor Lane for allowing me to share this with you guys. And you know, if y'all have any questions, I'm here like 3 times a week. I am always here. But the best compliment I ever heard was a couple of weeks ago. We had another lady from another CR that came here. And she walked in, and she, you know, nobody was at the door to greet her. I'm like, well, we're a small CR. But she walked in, and she'd seen me because we had a leadership meeting, and I knew her, and she walked up to me. And this is what she told me. She said, I have no clue who the leaders are here. And I thanked her for that. I said, thank you. Because I said, whenever you have hurt people, we don't need lanyards. We don't need badges. We don't need name tags. I don't want anybody to ever feel like someone is unapproachable because they have a piece of plastic hanging around their neck. I said, over here, everybody walks in their gifting. We let the Spirit do all that. So after I explained that to her, that's whenever she told me. She says, so y'all guys have a Celebrate Recovery that's more worried about the person than about anything else. I said, we're worried about the soul. We worry about getting them saved. Jesus is Jesus is Jesus. You can be healed. I've seen people come in with 10, 12 years of meth addiction, and in 3 weeks, gone, healed. There's no recovery. Jesus healed them. I've seen that. So I want to call up Mr. Joe, and I'd like to ask Pastor Lane to come up for a second. And Mr. Bill,